What up, homie?
What's up, Chowderhead?
How's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. What's going on with you?
Oh, just getting settled in, man. Wow, actually, I could take a couple minutes to mow the yard.
I haven't done that in weeks.
Oh, yeah?
I was actually telling Shelly this morning that I really think we should invest in a goat
Yeah,
because goats eat grass. And
they
if we
do.
have a goat, then we wouldn't have to eat the grass again. Plus, if I ever get lonely, well, never mind.
Yeah. It's not really a bad idea.
Ah!
This is Epic Battle Cry Skirmish 200, a punishing milestone!
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring you the real deal in the gaming industry today.
What?
I'm your host, Tony Grice, and with me, as always, for 200 some odd episodes at this point, Brent Adams and Daniel Kaiser. Brent, how you doing this week, man?
What's up, my constructors of chaos, my road warriors of wrath? How art thou?
Road Warriors
Nice.
and Constructors, referencing a couple of stories from
The
the
new
Gauntlet.
Mad Max Lego game that's coming later this year. Oh, no.
Oh,
Oh.
man, don't even tease me. Are you
I wouldn't
kidding?
doubt it, actually. That's pretty good. And, Brent, I think that's fitting because, I mean, if I think of you, I think of Mad Max when I
Mad.
think of,
Yeah.
or just Mad in general, to the max. But
angry.
do you feel that you identify with that character specifically?
Yeah, you mean in my batshit insane hatred of minorities?
No. Well, I think he was saying like, you're angry like Mad Max, but
Why
you also
don't you just smile and blow me?
But don't you also identify with like the Lego minifigures, like when you go to the bathroom and stuff?
I feel that there are some serious dispersions being cast around about my character and physique at this moment, and I am not going to engage. I'm going to listen to the
Disengage.
911 operator and stay in the car.
All right, DK, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing good, TG in 3D. 200 episodes in, can you believe it? That's a long, long time. And I just like to give props to myself because you consider that it was only 10
God knows
episodes
we're
in
not
when I
going
already
to.
started getting sick of you guys and your pessimism and unprofessionalism and how much I hate you. But I've stuck around for 190 more episodes, so here we are. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys, and I'm really happy that we've reached this milestone, which we're not really celebrating in any.
It's not
was
really
gonna
a
say, wait, I
milestone,
thought it
right?
was a
Yeah, there you go.
milestone.
Get that one in.
This kind of we'll call it a mini milestone. How about that?
How about a mild stone?
It's a mild stone. I think I had one of those a couple of years ago. It's hard to
That's right, and I had to
goodness.
drink a lot of beer, and
to
then
get rid of it. But
That's right.
yeah, doing great to answer your question. So let's do this.
All right, sounds good. Well, we have plenty of stuff to talk about on this 200th skirmish, so let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet.
Gauntlet!
All right, guys, we are here in the gauntlet, and the first bit of news we've got comes with the new Lego game that has been announced, and it's going to be based off of Legos.
What?
It sounds like they're really
Crazy.
going off the reservation with this one.
That's right. So, Telltale Games, they wherever Jack Bauer is, they are standing right next to them, and they
Yes.
are both most assuredly off the reservation. So, as you may or may not be aware, next year there is a movie entitled The Lego Movie. That'll be coming out in 2014. So, Warner Brothers and Telltale Games are going to be doing an adaptation of the Lego Movie called The Lego Movie: The Video Game.
What?
And it's a pretty creative title. You gotta give them credit for that. It's going to be coming to every platform that you've ever heard of and several that you haven't. Early in 2014, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PS3, 360, PC, Wii U, 3DS, and something called the Vita. I don't know what that is. Anyway, here is what they have outlined in the press release. In a scenario drawn from the film, the Lego Movie video game puts Lego kids into the role of Emmett, an ordinary, rules-following, perfectly average Lego minifigure who is mistakenly identified as the most extraordinary person and the key to saving the world. Players guide him as he is drafted into a fellowship of strangers on an epic quest to stop an evil tyrant, a journey for which Emmett is hopelessly and hilariously unprepared. It sounds like an absolute delight, doesn't it? But anyway, so there's a couple of screenshots and everything. What do you guys think? I mean, obviously, Lego and Telltale have built their popularity on the basis of adapting existing franchises into Lego. How do you think they're going to do with this one?
Well, I think it is a question of how successful is the Lego brand in the video game world, which is really huge. I think if they had come out with this game earlier, which they didn't have cause to do because they didn't prove the franchise would work within interactive entertainment at that point.
They also didn't have a Lego movie under their belt.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, right?
Right. But what I'm saying is from a gameplay perspective, there's a lot of us who are now familiar with that universe and the gameplay and how things work. So I think that them branching off and not leaning on an IP like a Harry Potter or a Batman or Lord of the Rings, I think it's an okay timing for them to do this and kind of rely on their own branding in order to just make a fun game. They have some interesting things that tie into their universe, like they did with the licensed IPs that they had. For instance, the ability to kind of find Lego instructions that are scattered throughout the game that players will interact with and allow them to build different construction sets and whatnot. So I think at least they're thinking creatively of this, and we know that the Lego video game brand is a powerhouse at this point. So I see it being commercially successful, but as far as it being a like a landmark interactive entertainment experience or something, it'll probably just be something fun to mess around with surrounding the launch of the movie, and they'll probably be very successful with it financially, and there you go.
Yeah, I think it just 100% goes off of how good the movie is, or at least how well it's received. And I gotta be honest, have either of you seen the trailer for the movie?
No.
It actually, I think, looks like it'll be pretty funny. Like, it kind of looks sort of in the vein of like that. When I say Pixar, not necessarily the sense of like, a Pixar movie, but just in the way that it's aimed at an audience where kids can enjoy it as well as adults can enjoy it. Like, I think the humor and stuff might be have some things in there, so it has a little bit wider audience. I actually think that, depending on how well the movie does, that will translate into how well the game does. Looks cool, looks fun. The Lego games are always pretty fun. I would say I'm kind of hoping, this one's going to be the first one on some of the new platforms, like the PS4 and Xbox One and whatnot. Yeah. And it does look like the world they're going to try to go after might be a little more, intricate, a little more robust and whatnot. So I'm kind of interested to see what they can do with that, and see if that Lego game structure kind of is able to hold up on its own with the with all the the history that's had so far. What new things can they come up with? But I think the humor really is what a lot of people play those games for, and depending on how well the movie does, I think that could play well.
I think that Lego City. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, Daniel.
It was time for a pun. Maybe we should block out some time for it when it comes out.
Oh, what? What's that smell?
Let's see if we can Lego that and move on to the next big story, which is next big story, which I know Daniel is going to be a little bit excited about. And that is and I'm a little bit excited about it because it's the last DLC that is coming out. No, I'm just kidding. For Dishonored. Dishonored is coming out with the Brigmore Witches DLC. DK, what can you tell us about it?
Buy it. No, what I can tell you about it is that it is the last piece of DLC for Bethesda's and Arcane Studios' Dishonored, which I love, and I make no bones about the fact that this is my guilty pleasure food. This is my late night bowl of Cap'n Crunch. This is my Rush, my Wayne Gretzky. Okay, I love this. It's reaching the status of Mass Effect for me because I love.
I don't think
this
you're making
game.
A good argument for somebody buying this by like comparing it to.
No, I recognize its flaws, but I really like the game, and I like what they've done with the DLC and the characters and the world. So anyway, to answer the question about what's happening, we got teased earlier this week by Bethesda on the Dishonored and Arcane on the Dishonored Facebook page with a couple of pieces of artwork, and then the next day they announced that Brigmore Witches is coming. It is the last piece of DLC for the game. It is coming August 13th, 2013, August 14th in Europe on the PS3. It obviously will be on the Xbox 360 and PC. It's going to be $10 or 800 Microsoft points, and it puts you back into the role of Dowd, who we saw in the Knife of Dunwall DLC, and lets you continue that story, which is interesting. One of the things that it is doing is carrying over all of your achievements and what you did in that game. It's a persistent playthrough, basically. So anything that you've accumulated, or all of your items, all of your upgrades, your chaos level, whatever you've done in the Knife of Dunwall, which was the last DLC, will carry over to the Brigmore Witches. And of course, the story, if you're familiar with Dishonored, allows you to be Dowd and once again track down Delilah, who was an integral part of the last DLC, and then have this confrontation with Corvo, who was the protagonist of the main game. But on a more broad level, it does bring, different features, new weapons, some new powers and things like that. So basically, if you're not a huge fan of Dishonored already, this is kind of, I don't see this as being something that will get you to sign up, because there's a lot of things that bring closure to fans of the franchise with this DLC. So it's more about closing things out for fans as opposed to bringing new people on. But for somebody like me, I'm extremely excited because I love this game, and for $10, it's an opportunity to play more of it. So what do you guys think about Dishonored? Do you think this will get you on board or what?
I don't think so. Here's the thing with Dishonored. Like, I keep meaning to go back and try to play or finish. Replay the game.
Did you finish it the first time?
No. I keep meaning to go back and try to play this game and to figure out what it is about it that you enjoy so much, because the first hour I really did not enjoy, but in an interesting example of history repeating itself, every time I go back and try to play Dishonored, I just end up playing XCOM again, and that's happened for 130 hours.
Just put it in and play it. Do you still have it? You want to borrow mine somehow?
No,
or what?
I've got it on the PC. But anyway, so that's what happens. Every time I go into my Steam library and I look at Dishonored, I'm just oh yeah, Dishonored. I remember when I was going to play that, and I stopped and I played XCOM. Ooh, I've got XCOM, and then I go play XCOM instead.
It sounds like your apathy for the series snuck up behind your desire to play it and just snuffed its life out.
That's probably what happened.
Just play it for just give yourself 3 to 4 hours with it. Just get to the event, the ball masquerade thing. When you get to that, I promise you'll like it. I promise you.
Thanks for the spoiler warning, jackass.
I didn't say what happened.
There's a masquerade ball in this game. Jesus,
damn it!
That was highly publicized.
I do I do want to go back and check it out just to form my own opinion of it, as opposed to just assuming that it's terrible because you like it. But yeah, one of these days I'm going to go back and check it out.
Tony, play the game. Play it. You'll like it. I'm telling you.
Hey, I'm sure the game's good. You know how little I get to play these days. So
sure.
But it actually it looks cool. I am for fans of the series, I think it's very cool that they're getting some additional DLC. But I do sort of I don't know. I will say. So when did Dishonored first come out? Was it early this?
No, it was late last year.
It was late last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is a
September,
year's
October,
worth
maybe.
of getting additional content out for the series. It's pretty good if you're a fan of the series. It's kind of they kept you
and they've done
happy.
a good job with it too. They've paced out the content, I think, pretty well.
And they didn't bother themselves with working on the sequel or anything. So the next bit of news that we've got up this week is
worthless sequels.
Yes, is a company that has been working on a sequel. Although I think, along with Brent there, I'm not sure it's necessarily needed. But Angry Birds is doing a sequel, but not to their own franchise, but to the Star Wars brand of their franchise. Brent, what new features is coming along with this Star Wars Angry Birds upgrade?
Quite a few new features. So Angry Birds Star Wars 2 has been announced. It's going to be coming out in September. Rovio has announced that Angry Birds fans are going to have a whole lot of new functionality in this game. Probably one of the most pertinent features is the fact that you are now going to have these collectible telepods figures that sort of work similarly to Skylanders or the Disney Infinity figures that'll be coming out soon. And the idea is you have these little figurines. There's a stand that you place them on, and then you put that stand on top of the camera on your mobile device, and it scans it, and then you have that character available in the game. So I think that with Angry Birds Star Wars 2, Rovio has finally found the perfect marriage for their sort of gameplay endeavors as well as their marketing and merchandising ventures. So it'll be really I think that, like, honestly, like, what I think about this, if you like the game, that's fine. Like, I actually got Angry Birds Star Wars for free like last week. They had it on sale for free on iOS, and I picked it up and I played it for like 15 minutes, and I was like, you know what, I had a really good time playing Angry Birds, but I am completely done with it. Like, once you've like played it out, it's just over and done with. Now, it does look like they're doing some new kind of gameplay mechanic type things with the Star Wars characters. You see them like throwing lightsabers and that kind of stuff. And that shit could be in Angry Birds 1. I don't know. Like, maybe I just haven't gotten that far. But anyway, the point is that it looks like they are doing some things to the gameplay. It's not just the exact same thing. Sure. But I can't help but feel like this would have been a much, much better idea the first time around, because at this point I just can't help but feel like the Angry Birds phenom is just beginning to wane a little bit, and this this may or may not really energize people and get them back to that, as opposed to being able to have capitalized on it when it was huge originally.
I think they're 3/4 of the way there. I think the brand, like you said, had legs for quite a while and was kind of a cultural phenomenon. They did the right thing by making their game a platform in which IPs and clearly identifiable brands like Star Wars can inhabit, and they could do partnerships, and that was a great move. Only a few games could pull that off. Things like Little Big Planet and a couple other things. Lego. I always think it's Lego. I think it's fantastic when brands can do that. But I don't think they're going all the way. Just to mention too, as one of the gameplay innovations, that you could play as the pigs this time. You could join the pork side. So that's interesting. Which I guess, I don't know the different dynamics, but I guess they double the amount of specialized characters and stuff that they could implement into the game by doing so. But you talk about this being the perfect marriage for licensing and stuff. I don't think they're approaching it right. I don't think people are going to. I think people that have to go out of their, and they probably still will, and they'll be successful, but people that have to go out of their way to buy new figures and stuff that have just the sole purpose of being in the game, I don't think is the right way to do it. They sell a lot of merchandise for this. What they should have done was probably sell like Star Wars, Angry Birds themed like a merchandise that has a functionality like rings or necklaces or whatever, so that you're wearing, because a lot of people wear this merchandise anyway.
So like you buy one of those plushies for your car, it's got like a QR code you scan, and then it unlocks that in the game.
Exactly. They should have done that as opposed to making a special standalone type of figure that only has the sole purpose of being scanned into the game. I think they would be a lot more successful.
But it's collectible. It's collectible though.
Yeah, but that would have got a lot more people to play the game, especially if you bought the figure and got the game discounted or for free, and then it encourages you to buy other figures. But anyway, they have to start getting creative, because people like you and me are losing interest in what Angry Birds is all about. But they definitely have the resources and the relationships to make it happen if they think a little bit smartly about it. So, Rovio, you can give me a call if you need some good marketing ideas.
I don't necessarily know if they need your call. I mean, like, if you look, Angry Birds is still, like, if you go in the App Store on like the iOS devices, like 2 or 3 of the Angry Birds titles are still like in the top 20 or 30 titles. So
it's a force,
it's one of those, and the thing is, they're not like free, not necessarily all of them. If they have like free editions, but the free editions are like tops in the free category, and they're paid editions, which are like $5 and $6. Like, they're not like $1, and they still sell pretty well. So part of me kind of thinks that, I'm not really sure that they do need to necessarily change their formula. It does seem to be like, I would have called that this series would have been way past its popularity kind of at this point in its lifespan, but I'll be honest, I'm not really sure that it's waning any, and maybe there is something to be said for a company that, like, just does what works. Like, if it's still working, they're still doing it. I don't get it either. I'm there with you guys on this, and I do think your idea of the like scanning in, like buying a physical plush toy and like scanning it in, kind of giving an additional sort of reason to sort of play that. I think that's kind of cool.
Value add.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see, but it doesn't look like Angry Birds is going anywhere anytime really soon. So last but not least, we get a little bit of footage of the new Mad Max game and some actual gameplay footage, like some in-game. So DK, how badass is it looking?
Well, I wish I could tell you a little bit more, at least. What was billed as the debut gameplay trailer by Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment and Avalanche Studios. Of course, Avalanche Studios being the company who brought us the Just Cause series, which I think is probably on par with the Dishonored in that it has tons of fans who really appreciate it for what it brings to the table, but then another set of gamers who, don't really
recognize it for what it is.
Anyway, I don't even know how to answer that. But anyway, they proved their chops.
That's a first of 200 episodes.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me make a note.
Avalanche obviously proved their chops with Just Cause. So a lot of people were excited during E3 when it was announced that they would be at the helm of this new Mad Max project. We didn't see much of it during the big convention, but this past week we did get the quote debut gameplay trailer, which didn't have too much like actual gameplay. It was kind of like clips of gameplay within it. Gave us an opportunity to see, the environments. It was the trailer was called Soul of a Man. It was very cinematic. It showed a lot of the action that will take place in the game. Of course, there's a big focus on the open world environments, the vehicular combat that's in the game, and all that type of stuff. So anyway, there's been a lot of, kind of conversation about this. Like, hey, I was expecting to see a little bit more. I'm going to reserve judgment until later. Or that looked like utter crap because the expectations are so high, and then you put this out. And then there's the whole, this is a cross-generational game. So are we looking at PS4, Xbox One? What are we looking at exactly? So what were your impressions of the media following its release this past week? And, is Mad Max a game that you've put onto your most anticipated list thus far? Or are you still reserving judgment, or what?
I'm definitely keeping an eye on it. I think that the premise for the game, the idea of a Mad Max game, the fact that it is in fact an open world game, which I was just sort of musing to Lauren the other day when we were recording, that I didn't know for sure, if this was going to be an open world game, but like it's like the perfect fit for it. And the fact that that Avalanche is doing it, obviously, that all kind of ties together with what they've done before in the Just Cause series. I think that the potential is there to make a really kick-ass game. It's got all kinds of avenues to explore in terms of gameplay, in terms of the environment. I can see a lot of possibilities. Mm-hmm. So it'll really kind of be all down to execution. As far as them not showing off a ton of media in this gameplay quote trailer, I was disappointed by that. I kind of felt like, if you're not ready to show off gameplay, that's fine. Just put out, the Soul of a Man cinematic trailer to, kind of remind people, hey, there's this cool game that's going to be coming out in 2014. Here's an update on it. Save the gameplay debut until you actually have gameplay.
Or just call it a gameplay teaser, and just that one word changes it.
Because that's all it is.
It was a teaser, and it would get people more in the right frame of mind that they're only going to see glimpses, which is what we basically got.
So I mean, I thought that was frankly a pretty obvious mistake that they made as far as this goes. Having said that, though. I haven't written the game off, and it's not on my most anticipated list. It remains a game that I am interested in, that I think has got some potential, and we'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens. On one side note, I did pick up during the Steam Summer Sale Just Cause 2 for like $3, and that is actually... I didn't get it at the time. I didn't get it necessarily thinking about Mad Max, but now that... now that we're kind of talking about Mad Max and everything, I'm going to be really interested to sort of play that game with an eye towards, okay, like what kinds of things from this game might they be working into, their Mad Max title.
Interesting.
Yeah,
GG.
I don't know. I feel like you maybe being just a little hard on the trailer. Like, I mean, there wasn't a lot of gameplay footage, but I mean, there's a lot of times these trailers are just not. I think what we did see, I think looks pretty promising. I think the game looks like it'll be a lot of fun. It's not like one that's on my most wanted list. I don't think. I've always liked the series. Like, I think it's I think the first movie especially is a really good movie. I kind of think the concept is a good concept for a game, but I also don't think it's just like a perfect concept for a game. I don't think there's just something about them like, ooh, I absolutely can't wait to do this in the game. I think it looks like it'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun title. I have a feeling it'll be the kind of game that I'll probably pick up like when it does go. I may not wait till it goes all the way down to like $3.
$3 on Steam.
But I do. I think it probably will be something I wait until it is on sale for. I don't necessarily think I will make the effort to get it. Day one. But it does look cool, and
So you wouldn't pay the max price for it?
200 episodes.
Am I making you mad?
You mad, bro?
Why you mad, bro? guys, we're in the main topic this week, and being that it's the 200th skirmish, and I'm like bringing Daniel kicking and screaming into that we should at least have some sort of bigger topic in there. But we're gonna talk. We're gonna look back at how things have changed over the time that we have done 200 skirmishes, because
I think they've gotten infinitely better.
It's been quite a few years, and we kind of want to look at some of the trends. It's stuff that we have talked about over the years, but it's just things have evolved and have changed. So DK, you want to kind of take us down the list of stuff that is kind of changed over the years?
A lot. So we're getting ready to head into a new generation of gaming, and 200 episodes ago, EBA, EpicBattleAxe.com, and Epic Battle Cry was basically founded for the purpose of discussing the issues that pertain to gamers.
Game systems were powered by water.
And giving gamers a platform to be able to discuss the topics of the day. And in that time, it is interesting to go back, because as this topic came up and we started thinking about things that have changed the industry, it's very interesting to think about not only where we've come from, but where we're going. For instance, let's look at one thing like digital distribution. I can remember early on games like Dragon Age and talking about different titles that would basically have day one DLC or digital distribution that was trying to be figured out. There was Project $10 where there was the online component, and they were going to give you things digitally if you unlock the code. But the big thing one of the biggest things I think that has happened is just leveraging and using digital distribution, something that in this generation and throughout the life of this podcast over 200 episodes has not only become prominent, but has become essential to, if Microsoft had its way, it would have been vital to how the industry is run. But I think digital distribution is probably one of the most important things that have happened in the life of this podcast and EpicBattleAxe.com as a whole. What is it about digital distribution that you think has proven its merit, but also caused concern over the last couple of years? And also, on that note, have we figured anything out specifically about where it should be headed in the future?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think that the main thing to digital distribution is convenience. I don't have to get in my car and drive anywhere to download a game. I don't have to fish my wallet out of my pocket. All I have to do is click on this button, and I'm charged for the game, and it starts downloading. Or in some cases, it's pre-downloaded. It's downloaded like the day before. It's already on my system. Now it's unlocked, and I can start playing. And
sometimes it's even on the disc when you first buy it.
But I think that convenience of being able to just browse around and impulse buy video games, especially in conjunction with things like demos, where you can just like sort of cruise around and say, oh, I'm going to play this, oh, that's really good, I'll download it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think back to even in the last console generation, where game demos were something you had to like go pick up a magazine and get the DVD or the CD out of the magazine to load up and try out some game demos for then something that you were going to go to the store when it came out and buy. I mean, just the convenience factor and the immediacy of that experience, I think, is obviously what's really brought this to the forefront. Now, obviously, as we've talked about many times, the concern in all this is the lack of the lack of control that you have over your digital goods versus your physical goods. Well, we were talking about Dishonored earlier, and that's
great game, by the way.
So I've heard. I bought that on Steam. Or excuse me, no, I did not buy that on Steam. I bought that physically on DVD. So this is a terrible example in hindsight for the point I'm about to make, but I continue anyway. Actually, no, I'm going to turn it around. Here goes. I got that on physical disc. So therefore, I suppose that I could have tried to sell it off to like one of my friends or something like that. But had I bought it on Steam, I would have been locked into the game. I wouldn't have been able to do anything with it. And therein, I think, lies what needs to happen next with digital distribution. I think that the company that really wants to get out ahead of this needs to basically say, hey, look, we're going to give you all of the same abilities and freedom that you have with physical goods with your digital goods. Do you want to trade them with your friends? You can do that. You select the game, you select the person in your friends list, you say, I'm going to lend this game to that person. You can specify how many days. It becomes unavailable in your library, and it becomes available in their library at the end of that time period that you specified. Or, when you're just ready to have it back, you click a button, it comes back to you. You're able to do that X number of times per friend, in every month. If you want to, trade games, you can say, okay, as long as I have this game in my inventory, this friend can have access to this game in their inventory. You want to sell your games, we're going to do that. You can sell them on the marketplace. You can charge whatever you want. We take a 30% cut. We process, the transaction through, like your Steam wallet or, like whatever the virtual storefront is. The company that does that is going to, I think, win over a lot of people, and I think they're going to sell some of the last stragglers. It's like, look, just because it's digital doesn't mean it's not yours.
Right.
That's the attitude that the companies need to have, and so that is the thing that I would like to see change about digital distribution in the next 5 years.
Tony, I was just going to ask you, Tony, because we're talking a lot about the consumer perspective, but don't you think digital distribution has an equal amount of impact, a bigger impact almost on smaller developers, and just from the publishing and development side, digital distribution has been huge, right?
Well, so yeah, I was going to kind of follow up what Brent was saying with, because I do agree. I actually think that the last concept, we've kind of talked about that a couple times about, why is there really a difference between the two mediums? And the thing that I don't really see that I think anybody is going to be trying that anytime soon. Unfortunately, I think it'd be a great idea, and I do think that eventually it'll probably happen, but I don't see it happening anytime real soon. I think the biggest thing, honestly, with digital distribution, maybe even bigger than the convenience factor, is price. I think digital distribution has made it so you can have a much different handling of price.
Structure.
Like you can discount it whenever you want. It can be much more immediate. Instead of you having to worry about the retailers that you have to get in touch with and let them know so many days in advance to drop a price down, or just the fact that you can have games at $2 and $3 through something like Steam, because essentially there is, you have no more additional cost. You've already you paid for it to be hosted on their server, or however that works. Whereas if you had to print and box and package and ship games out to a store, you'd lose that ability to have games for $2 and $3 time. I think the digital distribution model has done more for the freedom of pricing, and therefore
the
controlling
flexibility,
controlling who gets your title. You sell it at a premium price when it first comes out. Then a month or 2 months or however long later, you can drop it down a little bit more. And then like a year later, when maybe it's sort of kind of it gotten to as many people as it's going to get to, you drop the price to free to play possibly, or $1 or $2 or whatever, and then you get this audience that may never have taken the chance on before to now get it. You have so much more control over it, and I actually think the digital distribution model had more impact to do with price than anything, and I think that actually kind of is its biggest thing. Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say too, about the publisher and developer side real fast. I think it's completely changed in the 200 episodes that we've been on. Well, there's like this kind of hopeful area where people were like selling games and it still relied on stuff, but now it's like, hey, look, if you can market it right, if you can get it out there, you could show up at events like PAX and other stuff, you could do this yourself basically with digital distribution in this day and age now. Something that didn't exist 200 episodes ago, and I think that's very vital for the creative minds out there who are wanting to get inside gaming.
The idea that a small indie developer could put out a game and self-publish it, something like Gunpoint. The idea that mentality is now on consoles and other devices as well, that it's not just relegated to PC gaming. The idea that that people can just put out games and people can go find them on the PlayStation Store, the Xbox Live Marketplace, or the iOS Store, whatever it is. That mentality coming to sort of the mainstream gaming consoles and stuff, that's a huge thing, and it's completely changed. It's completely changed the nature of the business. I mean, the fact that we were talking about E3 in the context of indie developers, and all of those great indie titles that we saw at E3. I was emailing with a friend last night who said, I was really sort of underwhelmed by all the AAA stuff. For me, game of the show is Transistor. Yeah, and the fact that indie developers like Supergiant Games have the spotlight now, I think is a direct result of that digital distribution publishing model, because it allows them to sort of have the same level of visibility and the same access to the consumer that the big boys traditionally have held.
I tell you something that I think that as we talk about a lot of these things is, we just talked about kind of the importance of the ability to be able to distribute stuff digitally and not having that kind of overhead. And so in case it brings in more studios, and those studios can then make more, independent titles that they don't need to go with bigger structures. Another thing that I think it's almost like one begets the other. Another thing is the importance of the fans out there, the audience. Like now, because these smaller studios can make it a title on their own, they don't need to run it through 80 different divisions of a company to get okayed for something. They can make something that they really like, and they can do it for a certain subset, a certain audience that wants a certain kind of game. Sure. And now, because of that kind of connection, they really want to make sure that they make the game that their audience is looking for. So, now we get that feedback. Now you get things like, and I would even tie that into something along the lines of like Kickstarter. Kickstarter is beginning. I don't necessarily know that it's quite there yet. I actually feel like Kickstarter is still a little ways away from being what everybody thinks that it is right now.
And I was just going to say, I mean, there's so much that we could cover, like, the rise of mobile gaming, all this other, there's so many different facets, but you mentioned Kickstarter, and I think, lastly, what I want to talk about in this main topic is the rise in fan feedback. Like we said, EBA and EBC was founded with the idea of giving gamers a voice to kind of cry havoc and let their voice be heard. And in these 200 episodes, we've seen more and more of that in different capacities. But the end user's voice and the end user's role in determining things with something like Kickstarter, and also just seeing more interaction on social media, I think that has been something that's been really important in the last 200 episodes that we've seen kind of come to fruition and actually become a mainstay now. I think companies highly consider fan feedback for the most part. You've got the big AAA titles, you've got the big stuff, but it's kind of integral to what we were talking about alongside digital distribution, is that there's this kind of more flexibility throughout the industry because of these factors, and fan feedback and the mediums in which they could do it is becoming more and more important, certainly more important than it was a couple hundred episodes of Epic Battle Cry ago. So I do think that for sure the fan feedback has been huge and will only grow in the coming years with the next console generation, hopefully.
There's no question. I mean, fans have never had a louder voice than they do right now. I mean, the fact that, crowdfunding exists, the fact that, people can get on Twitter and watch Randy Pitchford get butthurt over, people, responding to him about, things with aliens, colonial marines. Yeah. All of that stuff. I mean, the consumers in this industry, the fans in this industry have never had more sway and a louder voice than they do right now. And I suppose that it'll be really interesting to see if that continues as we move forward. Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna. I don't know. I mean, they're talking more about the next gen consoles, like integrating, social stuff, which is obviously a whole nother thing. But I think the concept, though, that the fans, and we've seen, events like PAX become bigger and bigger and bigger each year since we've been doing this. We've seen more importance on the role of fans in as it pertains to different franchises. So my hope is that in the next generation of gaming, the whole reason why EBA was founded will continue to be something that permeates throughout the industry, and that fans have a place, have voices, that they're ultimately you always speak with your wallet, something we've said since day one on this show. But being able to influence the direction of this industry, I think, is very important with, in the day and age that we live. For sure. That's right. You're welcome. You're all welcome.
You're welcome!
All right, guys. Well, we are coming up near the end of this week's skirmish, but first we have our battle cries of the week. And we're going to start off with my battle cry, which is actually going to go out to the game Seen Mora, which is
that's a good game.
Very
I've
good.
seen
Yeah,
it.
it's a very good shooter. Jesus. It's a very good
I
shooter.
need to see more of it though before I decide if I.
Oh gosh! So it's been out on a bunch of platforms. It's on Steam. It's on PS3. It's on the Vita. It's on Xbox 360. And now it's coming to the iOS platform and later this month onto Android. So if you're into side-scrolling shooters, the biggest thing I could say is I love the style they went with this game. I mean, the graphics are amazing in my opinion for a shooter. It's kind of that 2.5D. It's like a 3D, rendering, but you see it from a 2D perspective. The artwork, the animation style, everything is just amazing. The soundtrack is very cool. It's got a very, very lively kind of audio soundtrack and just the sound effects that are in the game. Really, really cool game. And now if you don't have it on one of those platforms, it's as good as excuse as any to pick it up now on your tablet or your phone. Something good fun game to play on the go.
Yay.
So, seen
I
more.
second that full-heartedly.
Awesome.
Or
All right.
wholeheartedly.
All right.
on.
So Brent, what is your battle cry this week?
My battle cry this week goes out to the plethora of summer sales that are taking place right now.
Oh gosh.
For PC gaming. We were just talking about digital distribution and pricing, and one of the hallmarks of digital distribution pricing is, of course, the Steam summer sale. Mm-hmm. That has been raging now for I guess it'll be about a week as you're listening to this, and it's going to continue on. It runs through July 22nd, so there's still plenty of deals to be had, still plenty of great titles to snap up. I picked up, as I mentioned earlier, Just Cause 2. And I've also picked up Call of Juarez Gunslinger and a couple of other things from my long-standing wish list. So anyway, I just wanted to remind everybody about the Steam Summer Sale. You can get in on that on the PC. But also, don't forget that there are some other distribution outlets out there that are also having their own sales. Green Man Gaming is got a 30% off coupon that they are offering up right now for titles on their site. Gamersgate has just kicked off their second week of sales. So there's two other outlets that you can check out and see what competing prices they might have. And then lastly, I read a very interesting article by an old friend of ours, Miss Jess Condent, who is, of course, a writer over at Joystick these days. And she has got a fascinating article on Joystick called The Psychology of the Steam Summer Sale, in which she actually refers to a blog written by a person named Jamie Madigan, who has a PhD in psychology, is a lifelong gamer, and wrote an article titled The Psychology Behind Steam's Summer Sale, and just talks about some of the psychological components that go into these sales, like how they're designed to work and keep you engaged over the 2 weeks, all those kinds of things. It was a really, really interesting article, and so I would just point people to that too. I think you'd probably learn something very interesting from that read. So anyway,
Go Jess.
Go Jess.
Yeah.
Go Steam Summer Sale. Go PC gaming in general Summer Sale. Keep rocking in the free world. Out.
Very cool. All right, DK, what's your battle cry this week?
I know I've made light of the fact that this is the 200th episode of Epic Battle Cry, not because I want to, because it's just literally I
Not
think the
important, and you don't care about it.
the 250th episode is where we're focusing our attention. But I would be remiss to not use this opportunity to give a battle cry to the Epic Battle Axe community, both EBC listeners, epicbattleaxe.com followers. It's amazing and astonishing to me to think of what has happened on this platform for the last several years, and I just think it's awesome. It's just nothing but awesome to get letters from people, the feedback from people, everyone involved in this project from the word go. It hasn't always been easy, and we've been through a lot of changes, but in the last 200 episodes of this show, one thing that I can confidently say is that I know we've made an impact on the world of gaming, and that's not just the three of us weekly showing up to talk about things. We show up because we love to talk about gaming because we have fun doing so, and because people want to hear what we have to say on certain things and keep asking us to do more, and that's why we show up. But the users show up and give great feedback, and I can confidently say that EpicBattleAxe.com has become a place that fosters fantastic discussion from people with, really, really good insight into the industry. So my battle cry goes out to all of the EBA followers, the Epic Battle Cry listeners, and just say that on this 200th episode, I'm extremely proud of what has been built, and I look forward to continuing it and seeing what happens for the next, couple of episodes, because I don't know how much more we have left in the tank.
All right.
It seems thin right now because it's summer and there's nothing good to talk about.
But just wait till those new consoles come out, baby.
That's right. Just wait until September. It'll pick up again, I swear.
All right. Well, Brent, do you have our member battle cry this week?
Actually, I do. Of course, in constant celebration of what DK was talking about, I, with glee, go to the member battle cry for the 200th episode.
You had to mention Glee this week when the guy overdosed.
I was about to say, I didn't want to bring that up, but isn't that just a horrible way to introduce this, since the guy from Glee
and I give a shit why.
I'm just saying.
So anyway, as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by your dead teen idol,
It's not
Christopher Zeiss or Zeiss. I'm not exactly sure how your last name is pronounced, but
Christoph.
I'm not sure how your first name is pronounced either.
200 down, and we still haven't gotten anything figured out. All right.
Listen, the slightly rough around the edges quality is what makes this show what it is. Christoph says, I'm not going to make it. Hang on.
Okay.
Christoph says, I feel like what really makes this year's lineup so particularly special is that it seems to be the final effort of a fading generation. In many ways, these games are the pinnacle of what current platforms are capable of before we move on to bigger and hopefully even better things in the very near future. I'm extremely impressed by what Naughty Dog has accomplished with The Last of Us, especially in terms of the narrative and gameplay experience. It makes even other good games of 2013 pale in comparison, on which I wrote an entire EBA blog post about. Right now, it is my number one contender for Game of the Year for sure. Still, to stand and look back at the launch titles of the PS3 and the Xbox 360 now, it seems like our medium has come a very long way in the previous 7 to 8 years. If Naughty Dog's most recent game is any indication for things we can expect from the coming years, I can't wait to see what the next generation will bring forth until the end of its life cycle.
Yeah.
And that is an especially apropos battle cry, given that we're sort of sitting here talking about, looking back and seeing the things that have changed, within the game industry. And Christoph is really talking about, we were talking last time about, kind of games of the year discussion. Christoph is really looking back towards what has changed in games. Yeah. Over the course of the last generation. And it is really amazing. It is really, really amazing to look at the progress that games themselves have made. The developments in gameplay mechanics, I think, the huge advancements in storytelling. I can remember a topic that we did on Epic Battle Cry at one point where we were just talking about this, the sort of the collision of like storytelling and gaming, and like, how do you kind of have, like this uninteractive, storytelling with interactive gaming kind of meld, and it's amazing to see how all of those things have coalesced and gelled in the last few years.
Christoph was on the mark with this one, and I think if we look back on this generation, it is storytelling, I think, and the idea that gaming is interactive entertainment and telling stories that I look back. Mass Effect was obviously my favorite franchise of this generation, but just looking at titles like The Last of Us or what the BioShock series did and stuff like that. I think it's really interesting to note that of all the technical achievements, which are always great, it's really the creative, the narrative-driven things that have happened in this generation that we'll look back on and kind of remember the most, I would say, which makes me very interested to see what will happen in the next generation, if it's going to be repeated or, anytime you have a new generation of consoles, you're always looking at the tech first, you're always looking at the eye candy, it's the immediate thing that you see, but as we always say, something that I'm always fond of talking up is the fact that it's what people that are empowered with those tools do. It was what the game developers do and what they bring to the table in order to bring us and this medium forward that counts the most. So let's see what happens. Christoph Zeiss,
or Zeiss,
and I would like to just remind everybody that it does seem like it's come a long way because it took 8 years to get to the end of this console life cycle.
That's true. typically 5 or so. This one's
well, I think typically it's going to be about that length going forward. But let's be honest, it has come a long way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is going to end it for this 200th skirmish. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for the past 200, even though Daniel doesn't appear to care. And please join us again.
Make a commitment now that we are going to do something cool for episode 250.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
250. I mean, well, you can't not do something for 250.
Sure. For 250, yeah, absolutely. We'll do something cool.
Right.
And we'll put this out there now. We got 50 episodes to get it done. If you've got suggestions,
we got a year before you...
let us know what you want us to do. I envision us filming a live episode in a special remote location with a bunch of guests and possibly a lot of alcohol. I'm envisioning a tropical island for some reason, and I don't know that there's hot tubs and beer. This is the first thing that's popping into my head.
I'm okay with this plan so far.
Oh wait, you guys weren't in that vision. Let me rework it. I'm just joking. No, I think that sounds awesome. So let's do it. If you have ideas or want to open your casa, maybe what we should do is visit a fan's house. So if you're a fan and you want us to come visit, maybe we'll do that. And film 250 at your house.
It just does not sound appealing at all to I think all parties involved. I mean, who the hell's house are we going to stay at?
Cliff Blazinski's.
Oh, now that I'm down for.
I don't think he's probably a fan.
I would give anything to completely jack Cliff Blazinski's bathroom.
Do you think?
I'm glad you threw the word bathroom in there because I was getting concerned for a second.
His plumbing will never be the same again.
Jesus. All right, guys. Well, seriously, that does do it for this skirmish. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this week, and please join us once again next week when we will be cleaving the fat from the stories of the day. And if mercilessly, I can't even think of what I have to say anymore. It's I've only had to say it like 200 times.
You'd have memorized it by now.
You think, but fuck it. All right, so for Daniel Kaiser and Brent Adams, I'm your host, Tony Grice. And remember, cry havoc, and only 50 more until we get to an important episode.
That's exactly
That's
right.
what we learned.
No, seriously, I'm going to eat like an Indian food burrito, and then when we go to Blazinski's house, I'm just going to like wash it down with like some ginger ale and beer, and then it's over for him, man. Just over.
You doing good in there, buddy? You need anything?
Yep. A-okay. Oh, God.
Oh, it's on the walls.
That'd be the high point of my life.
That's sad.
Yeah, yes. Then.